There are lots of guys on the radio nowadays thinking that they know something about sports. Well, we're two guys who are the authority on sports.
Hey, I've got a good idea. Why don't you tune in on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock to check out the Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show.
88.3 KPCP, Point Capee. The prevailing thought in the Western Conference was that all the series would be pretty close because your worst team had a 600 record, and as it stands, they're duking it out with San Antonio. But they're all good series, pretty much.
Right. That's right, man. But we're gonna get to all that. We gotta start off with the high school.
All right. Well, let's rock and roll. There's a little local activity making a buzz here in Point Capee Parish. You were telling me about beforehand. Man, shame on you, Livonia.
Well, I don't know,
right.
Man. It's like. The LHSAA's rules are almost as complicated as the NCAA's.
Perry, I was looking for something catchy to say because Onya rhymes with Livonia, but when I read the article, I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking to myself, this is a mistake you or I or anybody could have easily made. I mean, it looks complicated. And then you have the guy who brought the hammer down saying, well, if they just applied for a hardship, well, I mean, dude, it's high school sports. Can we... Give him a break here, right?
Kenny Henderson. Now, Kenny Henderson, the director of the LHSAA, is the person you're referring to, Eric. And let's bring our listeners up to speed if they aren't already. However, though, the Louisiana High School Athletic Association Executive Committee rejected appeals of sanctions by Livonia this past yesterday. Livonia is required to forfeit 18 baseball games and 7 football games because of the play of a freshman student who was ruled ineligible based on a transfer rule violation after the school self-reported a possible violation a few days ago.
I mean, that's like, in the American court system, honestly, I mean, you can go up to commit murder, and if you do something to mitigate it, like roll on somebody, you're going to get a little leniency. These folks tattled on themselves, so to speak.
Right.
And they, 18 baseball games, obviously they had to forfeit that many. They're a good team. In fact, they are ranked, Perry.
Yes.
I did look at the power rankings before the start of the show. They are ranked, so they have a very good baseball team.
They do.
And now that's flushed. That's gone. And then
they had the best football season in their history.
That's right. They were runner-up.
State championship.
I remember that. We were talking about that on a different. We were talking about that earlier and last year. And yes, Livonia, they were the runner-ups to 3A was
3A.
Yeah, so they have very talented teams. Good kids, obviously putting in the work. So this is a very good team.
Hey, man. So not only do you forfeit 18 baseball games,
right,
7 football games, but that beautiful runner-up trophy you got down in New Orleans at the Superdome, you got to give that back.
Yeah, man. And you can't Reggie Bush that one. Or Reggie Bush said, "I'll tell you what, the trophy's at my house. Come get it."
No,
that's getting mailed right back.
That's right.
That's unfortunate.
And that executive director that you were referring to, Kenny Henderson.
Yes, sir.
He's quoted in the Morning Advocate today as saying that in this case, there was no court order involving custody. The student's parents were not married.
Right.
The kid lived with one or both at different times. And Kenny Henderson says, if Livonia High would have just asked for a ruling on the kid's eligibility, asked for a hardship ruling, they would have granted it.
Well, okay, I'd be like, well, Mr. Man, hardship, I understand the rules and procedures and blah, 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 but this is what gets me, and kind of like what you were saying about the NCAA.
Yes.
Although I would never insult the LHSA and compare them to the NCAA. If you come to listen to our show in the future, you'll understand why I'm saying that. But these are children, and this is ultimately about the competition on the field, and this is a technicality. I mean, this is a technicality. All right, you maybe could say that for legal documents or something where more sophisticated people who are into, like attorneys or notaries or somebody like that might be more seasoned, might be able to catch that. But these are educators first, athletes second, and to me, it's about the kids. So something so minor, they ought to let that ride.
I don't know how to feel about that because who's to say that there wasn't a deliberate?
That's true.
And we're looking at it from the hindsight. The LHSAA, they just want to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Right. No, at the end of the day, rules are rules. It just seems, why not a probation?
I feel bad for that football coach, those kids that put in all that sweat and tears.
Because of one student.
And you know what, Eric?
There's a freshman.
How much impact did that freshman really make? I would have to go back and look at some game film to see, how much of an impact. One, he's a freshman, and if he's on the field in those 7 games, how was he on the field? Was he an impactful running back? Was he on the special teams?
Right. I mean, my understanding is, and I've looked at these bylaws. Maybe last year, and maybe even before that. What I remember, and so don't throw stones at me if I'm wrong, but what I remember is like if the ineligibility of the forfeiture in that kind of situation wouldn't kick in until they step on the field. Right. So this kid must have played. He must have played a lot, and he must Well,
I don't know. I don't know. That's what I would want to know. Yeah, that's what I would want to know. If he played a lot, or if he just got into those games.
18 baseball games and however many football games. He must have played. So, I mean, actually, what's possible, though, Perry, he could have just played, they said, what I read in the article was the runner-up trophy had to be returned. Well, he could have played in just one game in the football season, which would invalidate, district titles and seeding and so on. That's speculation.
No, but they're saying that they're officially forfeiting 7. They numbered them.
Oh man,
7 wins.
That's tough. So I guess this is as I always say, it's never a loss, always a lesson. Although it's a pretty good loss.
Hey man, do we have the number to give folks that may want to get in on this conversation? I've got it. Of course we have.
Look at Perry with the heat.
The number is 638-3095 if you want to join in on this conversation. Area code 225-638-3095. KPCP, the voice of Point Capee Parish.
That's right. So please, Phil, come on in, join us here on KPCP. Jump into the conversation. The more voices, the better. And this affects you, Point Capee. I mean, this is. I'm one of those city slickers from Baton Rouge, so I'm just learning the culture here, but I know they got 4 big dogs in athletics here in the parish, and Livonia is one of them, and Livonia is the most accomplished of them. So, if you have, relatives, nieces, nephews, etc., you root for Livonia, this definitely affects you very profoundly.
There's probably someone out there that can fill us in on those details of that situation.
Right, yeah. And so, by all means, look, we're an open forum here at KPCP, area code 225-638-3095, 225-638-3095 on KPCP 88.3 Point Capee.
Hey, man, so look, let's move on into the college baseball arena and kind of discuss what's going on there. The Southern University Jaguars have the Grambling State Tigers coming into town this weekend.
That's right. That means 2 things. Rivalry. And a chance to win.
And they desperately need a chance to win, man.
It looks like the Jags are, whenever you're in a valley, you got to kind of crawl out of it with baby steps. I thought they took baby steps last week. They had a good Friday night game against Texas Southern. While they lost, the score was 2-1. I'm going to guess that young man, Santos Salva, I'm going to hope I don't mispronounce this, Santos Salvadori, pitched. He's a stud for Southern. Right. I'm guessing he's probably the one that pitched in that 2-1 game. Unfortunately, Southern couldn't move their runners around. They had a lot of problems stranding runners. Saturday they got 6-1, which if you consider the misfortunes of a lot of their relief pitchers, that's a slight moral victory for them, but they still they stranded a lot of runners, and they got the win in the 3:00 game on Saturday. They're back into the doubleheader. So you took one against a team with a winning record. TSU, as of Thursday night, I looked, they were 11-5 in SWAC play, so this is a quality opponent on their level. Today you got the Grambling Tigers, who are not a quality opponent, and they're a rival. They have a losing record. I want to say their record is 3-13 or 4. It's bad. It's a bad record.
Well, so at least it should be competitive.
So exactly, it gives the Jaguars this is a winnable series. This is a possible sweep because it's at Lee Hines Field.
That's exactly right. And the Jags are 7-22 for those of you that don't keep up with baseball on a regular. 7-22, which is not typical for a Roger Kadar program. Roger Kadar happens to be the head coach of the Southern University Jaguar baseball team. And this is his worst year on record.
If you ever shop at the Piggly Wiggly or see some commercials, you might recognize the gentleman. Great guy,
Right.
very community involved, just a
Yes.
salt-of-the-earth guy. But, the thing is, this is not a typical Roger Cador baseball team, but this is
Right.
also not a typically recent Roger Cador staff. And by that,
Exactly right.
His longtime assistant, and I am going to butcher this name, it was
I've got the last name if you can remember the first one.
I want to say it starts with an F, Fernando?
Puebla.
Fernando Puebla. I love saying Latin names in the native accent. That probably sounds about as Venezuelan as apple pie, but still, Fernando Puebla. I hope that's the name. And Mr. Puebla, if you can hear us anywhere in the World Wide Web, I apologize if I'm butchering it. But he's been he's been the assistant coach of Southern baseball for 7 years under Roger Cador, but he is not an American citizen. He's a Venezuelan citizen, and he was unable to get his green card renewed, so he and his wife and his child had to go back to Venezuela. Now, this is a guy in good standing. He's helping to shape young men. He's helping to keep bodies and minds fit and sharp in the world of American higher education. This is an immigrant who is an asset. Listen up, as Perry will say.
Silly morals.
Thank you. I didn't want to say it first in our premiere show. That is Perry's trademark phrase. He should use it first. But listen up, silly mortals. Immigrants are only allowed to come to this country if they can deliver something that makes us better. You're not going to get. As far as employment goes, you have to fill a gap that can't be filled by an American citizen. Immigration law is as complex as the day is long, but that's the general driving principle behind letting immigrants into this country to get a green card. This gentleman has been there for 7 years. Roger Cador flat out said, in so many words, he was the front man. Mr. Puebla handled all the day-to-day operations.
That's right. He was the baseball purist.
Right. He was doing the blocking and tackling stuff, so to speak, to use a football analogy.
Right.
He was the one training these kids. He was the one training these pitchers. And if you are a Jaguars fan, you've noticed that with the exception of Santos Salvatore, I really hope I got that name right, that the rest of the pitching leaves a whole lot to be desired, and the bullpen is just awful. I mean, I know, it's just bad.
So here's the rub for me. As we're becoming a global community,
right?
Here we've got, as you stated, a gainfully employed person,
right?
And yet we're moving. We're telling him we don't want you here.
A gainfully employed person who cannot. The whole point of letting people into work on a work visa is you're getting somebody who's filling a talent gap that you can't replace otherwise.
That's right.
This is. Numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. The numbers, and in baseball of all sports, are right there.
That's right.
Before and after.
And you know what, Eric? I would venture to guess that on Southern University's staff, the guy wasn't making a whole lot of money.
No, because I don't think Coach Cador's making more than 120, 150, something like that when his last contract. I mean, I wouldn't mind making it, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not drilling a hole in the pockets of Southern University. This guy is an asset to the university, an asset to the community, and hence an asset to our country. And because of our broken immigration system, I'm not going to get on a political rant, but this is an evidence that the political system is broken. We had discussed this, Perry, a couple of days ago, that for those of us that aren't maybe directly connected to anybody with a green card, any resident aliens, that immigration, when you say the word, it sounds like this thing for these other people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That it's all foreign. And no matter what side of the fence you fall on politically, if you're not connected to anybody personally, it's still, you're kind of a degree separated from the issue.
Right.
This is a real face of the problem with our immigration system. This is red tape and backups. I don't know the man's case. I haven't seen his file, but I'm not aware he was in any trouble with the law. So he should, and he's employed. So why aren't they able to renew his green card? That makes no sense to me.
Hopefully they can work it out. Hopefully he'll return. Southern University Jaguar program will return to its prominence in the SWAC conference. And all will be well once again, hopefully, Eric.
I sincerely hope so, Coach.
Let's move across town.
Yeah,
what's happening on the baseball diamond across town?
A much brighter and happier tune, although much more competitive. Heading over to our Louisiana State University Fighting Tigers. They are on the cusp of clutching and gripping and clawing and getting back into first place in the SEC West, possibly first place overall in the Southeastern Conference. But they have a critical 3-game series with the Tennessee Volunteers. The Volunteers are a decent opponent, but I don't think they're on the level of LSU. LSU is ranked number 9 in the country, but unfortunately, there's so many teams in SEC play that are high ranked and are competitive that, in spite of being number 9 in the country, there's no guarantee that LSU is going to be one of the top 64 in the field of 64 in the big dance for baseball later this year, because you have automatic bids and you have other also-rans and conferences that are, second, third place, etc., who are going to deservedly so be in the NCAA baseball tournament. Meanwhile, LSU, they could finish first, they could finish 9th, and the NCAA might take 9 SEC teams or 8 SEC teams. It's possible, but I guess the funny part is as high as they're ranked because of conference alignments and placements and commitments, there's no guarantee that LSU is even going to be dancing. This leads me to 2 things real quick, I guess. First of all, just to bring anyone up to speed, LSU had a dramatic victory last night, 8-7 over Tennessee with a walk-off RBI. I was watching basketball, so I missed it, but just reading on LSUsports.net, it looked like it was really exciting.
It did.
But it brings me to another point that we talk about even the casual fan, even someone who doesn't even watch football every Sunday knows, or Saturday rather, knows that the SEC is the big dog in football. You hear it all the SEC on national shows. I'm sick of the SEC. And the SEC ain't all that. And you're talking college football, you're talking the SEC.
Right.
But college baseball obviously does not have the profile that football or basketball has, but the SEC in baseball is just as much of a big dog as they are in football. Really, you have all these teams. The thing is, only in the Baton Rouge area, only a handful of cities have that college baseball fanaticism like we have in Baton Rouge. Here, maybe South Carolina, a couple of places in California. It's not like the other sports.
And you know what, Eric? I don't think it's just Baton Rouge. We because we live in Baton Rouge, we limit it to Baton Rouge, but they're pretty enthusiastic about baseball in Lafayette as well.
They sure are. And I did not look at the Baseball America rankings. I think they dropped the game sometime in the last 2 weeks, but they were ranked
5.
Right, they were ranked as high as, if they're not still number 1, they were recently ranked number 1.
Right.
And ULL's been viral. I mean, they made the College World Series a couple of times. They're no stranger to the dance. So you got some great college baseball here in Louisiana.
And not only Lafayette, but in recent years, Tulane's been up there.
They sure have.
So I guess we can group all of South Louisiana.
You sure? That's a good point there, Perry. And you go to Turchin Field, on a weekend, let me tell you, most college baseball towns, you go to UCLA, which is a big metropolis in Los Angeles, it might get 1,000 people there. You go to Turchin Field for a midweek game, you're going to have 1,500, 2,000. Of course, LSU's going to have 9,000, 10,000 people for a Southeastern Conference series, and Lafayette has a healthy 4-figure average too.
That's right.
That might, for those of you that maybe don't follow college baseball, maybe all you watch is Major League Baseball, or don't follow
during playoff time of the World Series.
Right. Why not 20, 30, 30? 1,000, anything 4 figures or higher on average is high for college baseball.
For college baseball, it really is.
Yeah. So LSU has that series with Tennessee. Great win last night. Interestingly, Aaron Nola had an 0.88 ERA heading into the series. Final score was 8-7. I'm assuming he took the mound last night. Again, I did not watch the game. Shame on me. But if he did, that average went up like a hot air. Had to have gone up like a hot air balloon. But notwithstanding, LSU did get the win against a very good conference rival, and Aaron Nola's a baller. That dude is just a straight baller. You just see a flame. I don't think that's a hand. I think it's one of those bionic flamethrowers like you see in those sci-fi shows.
Mark Laird is the gentleman that delivered the game-winning hit for the Tigers.
Mark Laird came through like a champ, man. So anyway, big game today at Alex Box Stadium. I believe that's going to resume. I want to say at 3 o'clock. I could be I believe it's at 3 o'clock this afternoon, but it's at Alex Box. Not sure about television or radio. Might be a little cramped and crowded with other college sports going on.
Hey man, let's do this. Let's go to a break.
Sure.
And we've got the sponsorship. Just one.
Okay.
And we'll allow that to roll as we regroup and get ready for some professional basketball playoff talk.
Playoffs! You're listening to KPCP 88.3 Louisiana All-American Sports. We're back on KPCP 88.3, the voice of Point Capee. This is Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Coach Perry Daniels.
And we want to bring something new to the Point Capee area, to the land west of the Mississippi. Actually, geographically, it's south of the Mississippi. I never understood that. But anyway, we wanted to bring something new. And then we're not just two guys that's going to sit there like two guys at a restaurant or a bar and yap all day about sports. We like to bring a different perspective in.
Most definitely, Eric. Most definitely, man. Too much testosterone in sports talk shows.
That's right. So we're going to get a point of view of the ladies, and this is going to be a recurring segment that you'll hear on Louisiana All-American Sports called, we need to get a tighter title for it, but for right now we're just going to call it the 5 Things on a Woman's Mind While Watching Sports. Enjoy. And so we have another regular guest calling the show to tell us the 5 things on a woman's mind while watching sports. Perry, take it away.
Are you ready?
Yo, they want to know.
All right, here we go. The top 5 things that were on a female's mind while watching sports. Number 5.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.
The Milwaukee Brewers and the Pittsburgh Pirates with a bench clearing brawl? I thought Pirates drink rum, not beer. No wonder they don't get along.
Number 4.
Phil Jackson just fired the New York Knicks head coach. If he really wants to win in New York, he needs to fire the owner.
Number 3.
If we are going to keep calling Dwight Howard Superman, I think we should start calling LaMarcus Aldridge Kryptonite.
Number 2.
Tiger Woods is going to miss another major due to his back injury. I wonder, did any blue-eyed blondes have anything to do with this?
And the number 1 thing that was on a female's mind while watching sports this past week is...
The Saints and the Falcons are scheduled to play the first week of the NFL season. Didn't we see this last year? Well, Dirty Bird, it's not Groundhog Day. We're going to whip your butts again.
Thank you for the top 5 things that were on a woman's mind while watching sports this past week.
Yo, they want to know. Who's that girl? Come on. Come on. What's my name,
That girl, la la. I'll stop singing.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoyed that. That is a special guest of the show, and she joins us from time to time, and she fills us in on what's going on a female's mind while watching sports this past week.
Hope you all enjoyed that. Area code 225-638-3095. 225-638-3095 to get in on the conversation here on Louisiana All-American Sports on KPCP 88.3 Point Capee. So, let's get to the big stuff now that we've teased the audience a little bit.
That's right.
NBA playoffs, baby.
That's right, man.
We've got just some hot action. We talked about at the top of the show a lot of the big series going on in the NBA. If you saw the games last night, you were treated to a couple of treats. That's a little redundant, but excellent action. Let's start with the smaller of the 2 treats, if you will. Both were an 0-2 series, a series with 0-2 standings, in which the home team dropped the first 2 games. Now, when you drop 2 games at home in a best-of-7 series in any sport, but especially basketball, more so than baseball or hockey, when you drop those first 2 games, the odds of coming back are astronomical. Only 3 times in the 19 times in which a team has dropped the first 2 games at home, meaning the higher seeded team has dropped 2 games at home. Only 3 times in NBA history has that team come back to win the series. Off the top of my head, I remember the 1993 Phoenix Suns did that. It was a best-of-5 against the Lakers, and other than that, I couldn't even name the other 2, and I'm a vault of useless trivia information.
And we may see it 3 times this year.
It could happen. It could happen because we have last night, we had the Chicago Bulls travel to Washington to the Verizon Center to play the Bullets. The Bulls dropped 2 at home. Of course, they've been Derrick Rose-less now for a couple of seasons. But, oh, man, there must be something about coaching and basketball genes because Mike Dunleavy Jr. was an animal.
He went off.
8 3-point shots, including the shot that put them ahead for good. The Wizards looked like they were about to come back. The Bulls had a healthy lead in the 4th quarter, and the Wizards just grinded and came back. Temper started flaring a little bit, though. You had Nene, early in the series, Nene and Jimmy Butler looked like they were about to throw down. And I'll tell you, the tempers are getting flared.
You know what? I want to say this. Nene's out there saying, he's quoted as saying, well, I'm only doing what I'm supposed to do. No, you're wrong.
Goonery.
You're wrong.
Go ahead.
You are not supposed to put your hands on that opposing player in the manner that you did.
And not only that, Perry, not only is it against the rules of basic rules of sportsmanship, but it's not even his role on the team. They count on Nene to be a contributing role player at 25 points in game 1. They need him. It's not like Bill Laimbeer, who, and I'm going way back to the 88 Pistons, but if Bill Laimbeer, does that, he might get kicked out of the game, but there's a psychological effect. There's a flow that went with that bad boys, intimidating kind of physical. There was a benefit. There was a trade-off benefit. The pros of him getting tossed might have outweighed the cons. The pros of the intimidation factor might have outweighed the cons. That's not the case with Nene. He's not an enforcer like in hockey or some of these guys in football. This guy is a guy they need on the floor to play 35 minutes a night, at least 30 minutes, and to score points. So it really probably hurt his team.
Right, because he won't play the next game.
Correct. He's going to get suspended. So this could be a turning point. This could let the Bulls vault right back into the series.
And you know what, though? It also should be mentioned that we should compliment Butler for maintaining his composure.
Because you saw those veins pulsing out of his neck. I mean, he looked like he wanted to. If that was on the street, that'd have been a different ending.
That's exactly right. And he kept his composure. He's going to play in the next game.
Right.
And his team, they'll be in full force.
Well, not only that, but Jimmy Butler is not equal. Jimmy Butler's no Nene. And what I mean by that is he's a role player.
Right.
And Nene's a starter. And it's kind of like we used to see, back in the 90s where you'd have some of these role players goading stars like Charles Barkley into these stupid altercations, and then, they both get tossed, but so what? I play, 10, 15 minutes a night. They need you to score 18, 20 points, grab 5, 6, 7 rebounds. Okay, we'll take that trade-off, Right. So that's a very interesting series, and the Bulls may have injected some life into themselves. I still, even without Nene, they have a chance at tying that series at 2-2, but full strength, the Wizards just seem to have a one-up on the Chicago Bulls. I mean, Mike Dunleavy's not going to hit 8 jump shots for 8 3-point shots every night. As good as he is.
Right. You would think that.
Right.
So we'll see though, man, because he's that type of shooter. He was in a special zone.
He was on fire. I was in one of those at the gym last night. I know what it feels like.
But I saw. You know what though? I really like this Washington Wizards team. Ariza.
Yeah, Trevor Ariza, good role player. Easily could be a starter, but he gives a lot of energy off the bench.
He does.
And he was a good replacement for Nene, and that's why the Wizards were able to maintain their competitive level.
Right.
John Wall here's what it is with Washington. John Wall's the star. There's no getting around this. It's a lot like the old Hornets teams with Chris Paul. You have a star who stirs the drink in John Wall, but you have a good collection of veteran role players, young spark plugs. The Wizards are taking some steps in the right direction. Now, it's a lot easier to take those baby steps in the Eastern Conference, but nonetheless, they're climbing out of the basketball doldrums of which they've been since probably about 2007 or so, 2008.
Right.
So, great series there.
Yeah, let's move on, though, man.
Portland Trail Blazers hosted the Houston Rockets last night in what was an instant classic. The Rockets also dropped their first 2 games at home. That was one of the last teams I remember. The 1994 Houston Rockets, who went on to win the championship. That's one of the three I was talking about. Fell behind the Phoenix Suns 0-2, came back, took the series, in I believe it was in 6 games, actually, to Charles Barkley's chagrin, and that's where the Clutch City moniker came from. When they came back from the Phoenix Suns, it was Clutch City, and then it's just stuck ever since. So enough of that basketball history. That game last night was an instant classic. The Rockets did come away. They preserved their season for at least another game. Perry, I know you said rumors of their death were greatly exaggerated. I just don't know if it's sustainable through another game. They're going to have to win ultimately 4 or 5, from game 3 forward. They would have had to win 4 or 5 to advance. I don't know if they can do that with those games at the Rose Garden, but we'll see. Last night was just a good team effort by the Rockets. You had Dwight Howard just own Robin Lopez, it seemed like, last night. You had James Harden's shooting percentage is still weak, but he was taking, I think, better shots, better looks. And
he had a much better night. That was his best night of the play.
Yeah, it was definitely a better night last night. No getting around that because the first 2 were
horrible.
Right, exactly. He got some points, though. Jeremy Lin really came through. He was slashing to the basket. He was making moves. He pretty much put the dagger in the Blazers last night into Rip City. And they got some good contributions from Chandler Parsons and Patrick Beverly. So you had a good contribution. I think whatever Kevin McHale did, he emphasized their strengths, specifically Dwight Howard, and they didn't let LaMarcus Aldridge go LaMarcus Aldridge like he'd been doing.
They didn't have Jones covering him.
They did not, but when the basketball gods giveth, the basketball gods taketh away, because Damian Lillard in defeat was unbelievable. I mean, I must have said the word wow. I mean, there was one play last night, and if you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. I'll try to describe it to the listeners best I can. Lillard kind of starts off near the paint. He goes to his right. There was a taller defender on him, and he tries to make his shot. He's fouled, and as he's falling away, he takes his right hand and just lifts the ball up and finger rolls almost from the floor. I mean, his hand was maybe 6 inches from the floor as he's falling. It goes off the backboard and in. Lillard was en fuego last night. It was a heck of a performance, but the highlight of the night was Troy Daniels. Perry, I was thinking that might be kin to you with those shooting skills. And Perry, of course, coaches Little High School basketball. This kid has played 6 games in his NBA career. It was his first postseason game. Came off the bench, buried the 3-point shot. This is what I like, though.
Yes.
You could see his face was just about to... His kid can't be but 22, 23 years old. He was just about to gush. Yeah. He was so excited, but he held his composure. You know when somebody knows they did something good, and you can see that smile on their face, and they're just trying to hold it because they don't want to get too carried away in a sporting event?
Yeah.
You could tell in the huddle that he was hyped up. He got off the court. And I think it was, I can't remember if it was Heather, it was the young African-American lady who does the NBA games, a real pretty woman, but she was like, so tell me, what gave you the confidence to take that shot? Because they had Harden on the floor, they had Parsons on the floor who were really their sharpshooters. Said, oh, no, I was prepared for it all year. Coach told me he had confidence in me, take the shot, so I had confidence. I mean, he said it for a kid that age. I would have just been coming out of my shirt,
right? Right.
So great game in the Rose Garden last night.
It was, man. We got a few more to cover.
Oh, we got some serious definitely going on. They got a lot of 1-1 series here. I'm going to start with the ones that are good basketball as opposed to being disappointing, only good because someone's disappointing. Indiana Pacers.
If I could throw this stat out about these 1-1 series.
Fire away.
The team that wins Game 3 in a 1-1 series wins the series 77% of the time.
That makes perfect sense to me, because if you fall down 2-1 in a 7-game series, the only way that you can win the series is to win 3 games out of 4. You have games 4 through 7 available. You need 4 to win the series. So you have to be hot in order to recover from that.
Right.
But look, we got these pivotal game 3s coming up. San Antonio Spurs are going up north to Dallas to take on the Mavericks. That's an interesting series. As I said at the top of the broadcast, the Mavericks are not your traditional 8th seed. They're an 8th seed in that competitive Western Conference, and they have a winning percentage of over 600. they edged the Phoenix Suns, who I believe also had a 600 record, and missed the playoffs altogether. In contrast, in the Eastern Conference, you had the Atlanta Hawks with a losing record that actually made it into the tournament. And interestingly, looked like they might have a chance to advance, but I digress. That's an interesting veteran matchup. I mean, if Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Vince Carter, when he's come off the bench, has been very effective at times. I think that you just have Greg Popovich, I think, trumps Rick Carlisle in coaching. I think the Spurs have more weapons with Manu Ginobili and Kawhi Leonard off the bench. And you have big old DeJuan Blair in the middle. But that on the same token, Dallas has guys like Sean Marion. This is what it looks like, Perry. It looks like the Mavericks are San Antonio light, and I think the heavier weight will ultimately come out on top.
I agree. I agree. You mentioned Dirk Nowitzki. He was presented with the Magic Johnson Award, beating out 5 other finalists for this award. Let me go through this. This award is given by the media, the Pro Basketball Writers Association, and it is an award for a player or coach's success on the court and cooperation with the fans and the media.
I believe that. I've seen a few. I know that Dirk Nowitzki gets very involved in the community, and I've seen him. I remember when they had the victory parade when they won the championship in 2011, and he's out there with the crowd and he's singing "We Are the Champions" in this horrendous, cacophonous German accent of "We are the champions," but he was really, you could see he felt comfortable connecting with the fans, as horribly as he sounded. And I've heard that he does all kinds of stuff in the Dallas area with showing up at events and going to schools and hospitals. Good guy. There's another immigrant. Right. I don't think he has citizenship. I don't think he's even applying for citizenship. There's another immigrant with a green card coming and contributing.
But they're not going to let all those tax dollars go.
No. Oh, no. They're not letting that. No, we like your green money here. That's what they're going to tell Coach Pueblo. Just look, if they up you to 6 figures, come back and we'll talk.
Right.
But anyway. Good for Dirk Nowitzki. Good guy, and I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
So you said Magic Johnson, which is interesting. Our next series is going to be a segue to a subtopic. There's a good slugfest going on by 2 Pacific Division rivals. The Los Angeles Clippers have a 2-1 advantage over the Golden State Warriors. Game 4 is in Oakland this weekend. As you'll hear me say this a whole lot on the air, folks, familiarity breeds contempt, and these 2 teams are very familiar and have a lot of contempt for one another. Blake Griffin, I'm sure, might go to and have a dartboard with the Golden State Warriors, maybe with Mark Jackson's face in the middle of his dartboard, our Golden State Warriors logo. These 2 teams do not like each other, which is great for us, the fans. They absolutely annihilated. After losing Game 1 in a competitive Game 1 in Los Angeles, and the Warriors took that Game 1 on the road, that is always huge in a best of 7, the Clippers responded to remind them of why they are the division champions, absolutely buried Golden State by 40 points, 138-98, came back and recovered for Game 3. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. A lot of big. You have the game's best point guard, the game's best dunker, and the game's best shooter in this series.
Eric, some things are more important than the results on the court. Silly mortals. We have to get beyond wins and losses, and we have to pay attention to who we spend our money with and who we support. The owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, I'm just...
Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling, I'm not sure if you're aware, but according to TMZ, probably
the most reliable, the only reputable gossip site out there, if that makes any sense.
This man was, they actually have a tape recording, Eric, of him saying that, how do I put it? He implies that, he says.
I said it.
I don't want you bringing blacks to my game.
Yeah,
talking to his girlfriend,
who was interestingly half black and half Mexican. That's ironic. That's okay for me and you to get down because you're hot, but don't bring your people around
here. Don't bring your people around.
Don't bring those illegal immigrants in here that can just cut my lawn and go home, okay? Pick some oranges and leave, and don't bring those black folks around here.
Right. So I'm laughing, but this isn't a laughing matter.
It's not. But, I try to laugh when I want to cry, or really I want to hit a wall. Interestingly, when I saw the text from you when I got up early this morning, and I saw Donald Sterling, and before I even had a chance to click the link, I'm thinking, what did this guy do this time? This guy's reputation as an Alpha Hotel, and if you're in the military, you know what Alpha Hotel is code for, what letters of the alphabet that is, that's all I'll say. But this Alpha Hotel has pulled off some stunts in the past that are, this is a guy who, when NBA contracts are guaranteed, with the exception of 10-day contracts and a couple of exceptions from the union. So you can cut me from your team, but you got to pay me. He's known to cut players and not pay them at all until they take their recourse in court. Go to sue him, pretty much.
Elgin Baylor's had to sue him.
Elgin Baylor has sued him. This guy... He's not a good guy. And actually, the results showed on the court, the team was the butt of the NBA, the joke of the NBA.
Elgin Baylor, former director of personnel for the Los Angeles Clippers.
Right, correct. He was a high-level executive.
Yes.
And he had to sue. There was a racial discrimination component to that suit. The other part was pay. Fired him, didn't want to pay the guy, and Sterling tried to blah, 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 blah his way out of it. Really disgusting, to tell you the truth.
But this is what it is. He told his girlfriend, I don't want her bringing black people to the games, including Magic Johnson. And if you take the time to listen to the actual recording, she's on the tape asking him, well, would it have been different if that was Larry Bird?
Right. Oh, yeah, of course not. Because he said he didn't want any black folks at the game. So, yeah, no, this is one thing, this is what's interesting. In politics and our political discourse, there's a lot of code. And you got to really listen to the words between the words, right? That's right. There's a gentleman on the air in Baton Rouge. Y'all probably heard him, Matt Kennedy. He was on WJBO forever and is now on a different conglomerate. But he always said politics is like sports for smart people because it goes beyond what you see on the surface. In politics, they could call somebody, they'd call the president the N-word without ever using the N-word about a zillion times. But because of what you see in between the lines. They're not legitimate, un-American. So But you have to read beneath the lines to see that. That's right. Donald Sterling just kind of took that away. Did he make it that hard? He flat said, don't bring those black folks to my games.
This is what really, really
take those Instagram pics off of those big black men.
This is what really, really frustrated me, Eric, is that just a couple of days ago, I'm imploring people to support the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah, real quick, Perry and I we do have a pre-recorded show on another station in Baton Rouge, and we were on the pre-recorded show, which was recorded before this ridiculousness, bro. Perry said, you know what? If you're from Louisiana, you should maybe adopt these guys as a home team. They have Big Baby Davis, who went to U High, played at LSU, and who was the other Louisiana? Danny Granger, right? From Grace King and Metairie in the New Orleans area. This is as close to a home team as we're going to get since the Pelicans are out. Would you like to retract that, Perry? Would you like to Bill Clinton this one?
Most definitely. Not only do you not give the Los Angeles Clippers your support, but if you know anyone in Los Angeles that is a minority, not just African American, a minority, stop going and giving him your money. Your money is your power.
Yeah, give the man what he wants.
And Eric, I'm not even watching the Los Angeles Clippers anymore.
That's hard for me to do. I'm afraid. I hear you. Maybe basketball's like my crack. But and also it's I try to keep up. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, but I hear you, Perry. I don't
I'm going to give him what he wants.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, as you'll come to know, I'm a little more passive on these things than Perry is, but I agree with every of the sentiment of everything that you're saying. I really do. And, I kind of haven't had a chance to digest all this yet.
Right.
But, and I would certainly like to hear his side of the story. If this story pans out, I don't think there is one. But like I said, Donald Sterling, before all this, was a known alpha hotel. That's why the team was so bad for so long. I think he had better management come in and say, why don't you step out the way?
Now here's the other side. Now, this is, I do have a little concern about this. This was a private conversation that was not intended for others to hear. And we don't exactly know in what context the conversation is framed in.
Let's take some, there are only so many yeah buts to this, but I can think of a couple of yeah buts. It might be one of these black guys hitting on his woman. And it might have happened more than once.
He says that on, he doesn't say exactly that on the recording, but he says if you want to get with one of them, you can.
Now you see, Perry, now this is where I think there was one guy, old white guy, a long time ago in one of these documentaries. It was like in the 80s, and it was reflecting the 20th anniversary of the Martin Luther King assassination. Yeah. And this guy said something like, he's like, there are only two races of people. They're men and women. The rest of us are all children under God. This is like some guy in Tennessee. I mean, he looked like the stereotype of what you would think would not say something like that, if you will. I mean, he had like one tooth in his mouth was trouble. But he was like, that's what I've come to learn in this life after all this stuff. We all fight each other.
I pray for the day that we get there, Eric.
Yeah, but
we're not there as a society.
No, but wise words 26 years ago from this guy. And, he said, I was a product of my times, blah, blah, blah. I think the men and women, those are the two categories where if there were any way I can empathize with this guy, it might be that. Because I'm putting myself in his shoes, and this is a private conversation, you said. Yes. And I'm coming, and you're bringing these dudes here, and these dudes keep putting their hands all over you, and I, of course, have to be calm and cool and stuff. I'm mad, and you know what, as Chris Rock said, if you have a way to hurt somebody in an argument, if they hurt you, you go for what hurts the most, and that does. I'm not saying I condone it, but you play with someone's woman.
Right. Oh, you're right.
Some of the rules kind of go out the window, so I would like to hear his side of the story, but like I said, he's a known alpha and not the good kind, and it just doesn't surprise me with Sterling. It really doesn't.
And we've given him enough time on our show.
Completely agree. Let's give him what he wants and not talk about it. So yeah, wow. That was a great, it was interesting to discuss. And if you want to discuss it, hey, we'll give him more time on our show. If you want to talk about him at area code 225-638-3095, 225-638-3095, KPCP 88.3, the voice of Point Capee.
Where do we go next?
I'm thinking we could probably talk about a couple of the other series going on. There's one series that's been a bitter disappointment, and, well, it actually depends on your point of view. I'll just say it's definitely not shaped out the way I expected. It's disappointing to watch the play of one team, and that's the first-round matchup in the Eastern Conference between the first-seeded Indiana Pacers and the eighth-seeded Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks took away home court advantage in Indiana in Game 1, and then in Game 3 in Atlanta took Game 3. They're now up 2-1 on the first-seeded Pacers. The Atlanta Hawks had a sub-500 record and slipped into the playoffs. I think most of us were the opinion they'd just be cannon fodder on way for Indiana to face the winner of the Bullets. Oh, I gotta stop doing that. The Wizards and Bulls series, and but as it turns out, now this is a real dogfight that they have, and Atlanta's. Look, these guys are not world beaters by any means, but they are an NBA team. They seem to at least be not dysfunctional, and Indiana's very dysfunctional. I think the Hawks smell blood in the water right now. I really think they do.
I just don't know if they have that killer shark mentality, blood in the water. I'm not sure that that's enough for Atlanta. They're playing really well.
I agree. If you're a shark and you're going up against a boat, you might put some holes in the boat. You might make it start sinking a little on the way to shore, but you're still going against a boat.
Right.
And Indiana's just, even as dysfunctional as they are, and they look like they're falling apart, they just have too much.
Too much talent.
I don't see, in spite of the sky is falling kind of aura they have there in Indianapolis, I can't see how they lose to Atlanta in a 7-game series.
Hey, but Atlanta won Game 3. They did. 77% of the teams that win Game 3 in a 1-1 series.
Right.
So clearly the advantage is on Atlanta's side.
It sure is. They have the leg up.
Hey man, we've got a call from our guy who tells us about the statistics and the odds of each series. And well, no, not of each series. What he does is he gives us the odds on who's going to win the championship in prospective sports. So this guy's another regular on the show. We hope that you enjoy his segment as well. We call him G, the Fixer, because that's what he does. He fixes things, and one of the things that he fixes, maybe, hey, you're never going to have me testify against him, maybe sporting events.
So, from St. Louis, Missouri, here we have the Fixer.
I'm going down, baby. Yo, street in the rain. Come on. Ready to let it go. Shitty, go to God. Listen to it loud. Light it up and take a...
What up, G?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I ain't heard from y'all in a while. Just trying to make sure y'all don't get frozen out, rained out, or whatever crazy weather y'all got going on down there.
Yeah, man, we trying to stay alive. You know how it go. What you got for us this week, man?
Well, man, the playoffs is going hot and heavy. They got the odds to win it all. And, of course, Miami's at the top at 2-1. San Antonio 11-4. Oklahoma City 4-1. Indiana 15-2. Then come the Clippers, Portland, and then if you brave and you want to put your money in on Charlotte, they're 1,000-1. But I will say Charlotte will win one game in this series.
Okay.
I guarantee the fact. I sent a message yesterday.
Oh, I got you. Tell me this, man. I want to make sure I heard that right. So the Spurs are better odds to win than the Thunder?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. Okay.
Yeah. About 11-4 is not much over 4-1, but yeah, still a better odds to win.
Okay.
One of them. Do you have any odds on the Dallas Mavericks? I know they're putting up a fight right now with San Antonio.
Dallas Mavericks, I think I looked at them at like 5-1.
5-1. Okay.
25.
20. Okay, that makes
25
sense.
to 1.
25 to 1.
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. Well, they're playing pretty good ball. We'll see. What else you got, man?
Well, the Major League Baseball is going on pretty heavy. The Dodgers are the favorites to win it all, 13-2 in Detroit. And then my St. Louis Cardinals are 9-1, Washington 9-1, the Yankees 10-1, and then Oakland 12-1. Really? And if you brave, the Astros bringing up the rear, 300-1.
Man, hey, G, if you got it, man, go drop $1,000 on the Astros. All right.
Yeah. But believe it or not, my favorite viewing sport, is up and running. My favorite viewing sport is hockey. If you ever been to a hockey match live, you got to go see hockey live. Watching it on TV does not do it any justice. And I do have the odds because the playoffs are up and rolling. And got the Boston Bruins at 11-4, San Jose 9-2, Chicago 15-2, Pittsburgh 15-2, and my Blues are coming in at 8-1. So, we stand a chance there.
What what about the LA Kings? Do you have the odds on them?
I don't have them right here with me, but I can get them for you.
All right, because I know they got smoked pretty bad.
Don't tell me you're a Kings fan.
No. I'm just curious to see how long the odds are, because I know they were coming as I believe the 8th seed, and they got dusted 2 games in a row. So I was just curious if the odds were something like 1,000-1 or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll see if I can get them for you.
All right.
But then we do got the NFL odds to win the Super Bowl already out. The schedule came out.
Really?
Y'all don't waste any time.
Okay. Talk to us.
Yeah, so the NFL odds are out. They got the Seahawks leading at 6-1. 49ers and Broncos 7-1. Y'all down there in New Orleans and Baton Rouge 20-1 for the Saints.
Not bad.
20-1.
Yeah, my favorite, 33-1 for the Cowboys. And if you're brave, you can go to the Jaguars at 150 to 1.
150 what?
150 to 1.
Oh my God.
Wow. That's where you should put your grand, G.
No. One is just like I could just, the casino down the street, I could just walk over there and just go give them $1,000 if that's what they want.
I hear you, man. Hey, we gotta run. We so appreciate you, man. You know the deal. Stay off the grid. Stay out of jail. I holla.
All right, peace.
Peace.
That was The Fixer.
I'm going down, baby. Yo, street in the rain. Come on. Boom, boom, baby. Ready to let it go. Shit, go up. Listen to it clap. Light it up.
Alrighty, that was The Fixer. So I hope you jotted some notes down if you're taking any trips to Las Vegas, or if you have any friendly wagers with folks at the office, you should listen to The Fixer. I'll tell you, we saw some strange happenings during football season, some real strange happenings during football season with The Fixer. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. We saw some very strange happenings with The Fixer during football season. So you never know what could happen if you take his advice, but you might come out ahead. But hopefully you came out very entertained. Good friend of the show, and he really adds a different perspective, kind of the gritty underside of sports, which is gambling. It's a big part of what fuels interest in our national pastimes of football and basketball, baseball, etc. So we only just have a couple of minutes left here. We hope that you've enjoyed this premiere of the Louisiana All-American Sports Show. Next week we'll have more talk about the NBA playoffs. We will have, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can almost promise you there will be some NFL news. We'll have some special guest callers. Write the number down. Talk to us next week. Area code 225-638-3095. 225-638-3095 to talk with us on KPCP 88.3, the voice of Point Capee.
Eric, I think we should thank the listeners for joining us on our inaugural show. We've got a couple of tidbits as we exit the studio. First, you need to know, Tiger basketball fans, got some bad news for you. The guards, Andrew and Aaron Harrison for the University of Kentucky are not going pro. They are returning next year. Eric, to me, that makes them odds-on favorite to win the national championship just with those two staying.
Oh, yeah. Aaron Harrison is an assassin, and Andrew Harrison is Steady Eddie, and they were projected, if they had come out parrying, we talked about this a little while ago. I didn't know this. They're projected late first round right now, so they could be lottery picks coming in after this year.
Hey, man, and the one, is it Aaron who has the
Aaron's
ice
the one
water
who's freezing cold, ice-chilled blood in his veins. We'll fill you on that later, folks.
Also, DeAndre Daniels for the University of UConn, the national champion UConn Huskies. Daniels averaged 13 points a game, 6 rebounds, and he has decided that he is taking his talent to the NBA.
Coach, I don't know about that one.
I don't either, Eric. However, you don't know, a kid's situation. You don't know what could be being told to the young man, so we'll see. So we'll go from there. Give me one more shot, Eric.
All right.
Yeah.
We we are got about 50 seconds left. Super thank you for joining us today. We promise to give you even more and make it better. We want to hear feedback from you. We want to hear from you. More of you, less of us. 225-638-3095. 225-638-3095. Write it down. Remember, take a picture, because we'll be here on Louisiana All-American Sports on 88.3 KPCP, the voice of Point Capee. We'd like to thank New World Broadcasting and thank the Gremion family for inviting us into their home and inviting us into the parish and letting us share this 1 hour of Saturday morning pre-lunchtime talk with you as we have to come to the end of our show. So, as we will come to always say, around this time,
ADT, JNS, love you.
And have a good afternoon.